was indeed a sad day in the world of conservation. Our reporter Soni Methu sat down with Kaddu Sebunya, the president of the African Wildlife Foundation, to talk about Sudan's death and the urgent need for Africa to protect its diverse wildlife.
Please tell me about Sudan, his life and what he represents.
At a personal level, I saw Sudan last year. We were there as a family. We saw Sudan. We saw all the three. The kids were excited about the visit. I don't know how I'm going to break this news to them. I have now to tell the children that one, the male is gone. Right now, South Africa loses more than 1,000 rhinos annually to poaching. You do the math, there are about 24,000 left. One of the biggest contributions Pajeta has done, and the Sudan itself, is highlight this issue of poaching, the issue of extinction of our species. In our lifetime, we can as well lose all the rhinos we had. I come from Uganda. We've lost all our rhinos.
Why are we failing?
It is something that that defines us as Africans, and a big part of that is what Africa is. And what Africa is, wildlife is part of that. So they define who we are, but that's not the end of the story. They contribute greatly to our way of life and our aspirations as Africans. Their habitats, which are wild places, contribute almost 90% of the water we need for our life, for our agriculture, for our industries. That has not been explained properly, and especially from our sector. We haven't done a good job of explaining the usefulness, the connection we have, the importance of conservation to the aspirations of many Africans. We now can really have a wake-up call as Africans that under our watch, we have now to collectively have a story to tell the next generation of Africans that we really didn't care, that we didn't pay attention to this, that somehow economic development or our education or our health as a human species of Africans, we care more about ourselves. This Sudan as a rhino was an African too. So as a human species, we can't think that we are the only Africans.
What other species should we worry about?
Apart from rhinos, we need to be watchful of. So another megafauna is the elephant. For the last 20 years, we've lost half their population. Africa loses an average of 30,000 annually, and we are left with 500,000. Lions, we have half the population. We have less than 25,000 left on the continent. And that is also another species, megafauna species, that can be extinct in our lifetime. Giraffe has been added to an endangered list too. The giraffe also is threatened because of the habitat.
A sad end to a wildlife species. Let's now find out how unique this Sudan rhino was and how its death marks the end of another breed of wildlife. Paul Gadito is the spokesman of Kenya Wildlife Service, and he joins me on the line with more on this. Paul, how unique was this rhino called Sudan?
This was a very unique rhino because we may remember that in 2009, 4 rhinos were brought from the Czech Republic. And this was Soni, Sudan, and the 2 females. So Sudan, having been the elder one, was very significant because we had trusted its experience and its very strong gene position to then be able to contribute to putting the Northern White Rhinos on the lineage of continuation. And therefore, Sudan represented a very important figure, and many people would go and visit Pajeta because they were able to associate and link with Sudan. Very vibrant big, huge animal, but very gentle in terms of if people came out and they were able to almost communicate with Sudan. So this was a very special male, and truly it's a very sad day, that we are looking at a situation where out of human greed, we had sent this subspecies, to oblivion. It truly is a very sad day for us.
But Paul, now that the species of Sudan is officially extinct, what is your organization, the Kenya Wildlife Service, doing to ensure that other rare rhino species that are under threat survive?
Okay, first, maybe I just need to clarify that this was the last male rhino of the northern subspecies, but we do have 2 females that are still left in Olpejeta. So they are there, and part of the hope that we are able to do is to use previously collected semen from Northern White Rhino males, and then use this IVF technology to try and see whether we can get female cells from the two live Northern Rhino females that are still there in Olpejeta, and that then can be implanted in a different species, because both of them have certain complications and they may not be able to actually take pregnancies and take it to term. For one of them, it's probably going to be even difficult to actually place the pregnancy in the uterus. Then we would then hope that we can be able to do surrogation, use a surrogate parent for this particular case, take a female of the southern white rhino subspecies, and then use it now for culling. So maybe that we just need to be clear about that one. And that is the hope, and we are hoping that the combination of the science and a little bit of the research and the technology. But remember, this is the first time that it will be happening. It's never been tried with rhinos before, so we are not quite sure exactly what will happen. We do hope. But if it doesn't work, then of course it means it's a stop to that particular genealogy of the subspecies of the northern white rhino.
All right, Paul Kaddu on the line.